Hi, and welcome to the incoming seventh grade parent night. We're so excited to have many of you joining, and we look forward to welcoming your students to the seventh grade next year. We have some people joining us this evening that are going to give you overviews of everything you should expect coming into seventh grade. We'll have time at the end for question and answers. Please remember that there's a Google form where you can submit questions now or during the question and answer session. With us this evening is my colleague, Junko Matano. It looks like there's a little tech glitch, so she should be on in just a minute. We also have with us our three wonderful school psychologists, Michelle Greenwald, Robin Younger, and Mitch Shapiro. We also have our two wonderful assistant principals, Mary Rose Joseph and Jennifer Johnson. And we have our principal, Kyle Hosier, who's going to start us off with a welcome.
Hello, everyone. We are excited to welcome you and your children in September. I think Edgemont's a great place. The junior senior high school has a lot of different activities, different clubs, athletics. So there's definitely a lot for students to look into if they have an interest. We encourage them to find that interest and pursue that when they get to our school in September. As students mature, one of the things we want students to think about is how do they self-advocate? Obviously, being able to self-advocate when there's an issue that comes up, to be able to speak with a peer or speak with a teacher, that's a very important skill. I want to encourage you, if there is a concern that you have, please reach out to us. We have a great team here to support you. It may feel like a pretty big jump in your mind if it's your first child moving to the junior senior high school, but I want to assure you that we do this every year. It works, and our seventh graders are happy and enjoy being at the school. So look forward to partnering with you in the future, and I'm sure we'll see each other, if not the summer, definitely in September. Thank you.
Great. I have Junko Matano with me here. So I'm Lauren Moore. I'm one of the junior high counselors. I work with grades 7, 8, and 9. And if your child's last name is M through Z, I will be their counselor.
Thank you, Lauren. Hi, I'm Junko Matano. It's great to see everyone tonight. I'm so sorry. I was excited to receive a new camera by our tech department, and guess what? It didn't work. So I am here to talk first about the student orientation program. So Lauren and I had a chance to visit the sixth graders in early March, and we were able to give the sixth graders an overview of the seventh grade days and what their days would look like. We also talked about the course selection process, and thank you so much for helping your children choose their world language and music classes. We also are excited to prepare for the orientation days that are coming up this month. Next Thursday on the 12th, the Greenville students will be visiting our campus, and they will receive a tour of the Edgemont High School campus. They will take 2 classes to kind of see what it's like to be in a classroom at the high school. And the highlight of their orientation is to try our cafeteria. And our sixth graders will have lunch in the cafeteria. So please don't forget to give them lunch money for the orientation day. We also have several 9th, 11th, 12th graders that are on the panel of experts, and they're very looking forward to making their presentations for us. Then our final orientation day is called On Deck Day on Thursday, September 1st. So it'll be great if you can mark your calendars for September 1st. So by that time, the sixth graders are incoming seventh graders, and they have their own schedules, which we'll talk about later on through the parent portal. You will be able to see their schedules in late August. Our 3 school psychologists also help Lauren and I with the high school mentor program, and every seventh grader will have an older high school student mentoring them throughout the seventh grade year. So in small groups with their high school mentor, they will have another tour of our campus, because we understand that it is a transition year. Generally, they are a little nervous about changing campuses. So we give them another tour, and they will have their actual schedules ready. So our mentors will show them every single classroom that they will be going to the following week. And then once school starts, the 7th grade team, we have a team system with the teachers, and all of our school psychologists, the administrators, and Laura and I are part of this team. And the 7th grade team prepare an orientation week for them. So there'll be various workshops and activities to support the 7th graders ease into their 7th grade year. The role of our counselor. So we understand that at the elementary schools, students have not worked with school counselors yet. I know that many students have had a chance to work with the school psychologist there, but Lauren and I focus on the academic, social, emotional support, and career post-secondary planning with our students. So Lauren and I will work with the 7th through 9th graders. If your children's last names start from A through L, I will be working with your children. And if your children's last names start from M through Z, Lauren Moore will be working with them up until 9th grade. And we have several other senior high school counselors that will continue with them from 10th grade on. So in terms of academics, we help students with time management, organizational help. We also every year meet with students about their future course planning, especially for the following year. Students are always welcome to see us. We encourage to see us during lunchtime, sometimes after school. And of course, if they really need to see us, there are sometimes, emergencies, or they really need a break. The teachers will always let them come to the counseling suite. Social emotional, we work with our school psychologists and our administrators also, but a lot of 7th and 8th graders understandably come to speak with us about friendships, difficulties with friendships, and we help them problem solve personal concerns. We make sure that the students understand that what they talk about is confidential in our offices. At the same time, we are open about if there's any kind of safety concerns, we will immediately reach out to parents and administrators. And we really help them build their social skills as well. In terms of career, we talk about career exploration from 7th grade, mainly at the 7th grade level, 7th and 8th grade level. Laura and I talk about what do they like to do outside of the classroom, what kind of extracurricular activities are available for them. And as they get older in high school, naturally, the counselors will help students with college planning or post-secondary planning. In terms of technology, now that we have Google Classroom for several years, it's been really helpful. Students will have a Google Classroom page for each class. Information such as resources, assignments, homework assignments, and important dates will be posted on Google Classroom. So for example, 7th graders, generally, sometimes they forget, like for example, worksheets, but not in school. Then I think it's really great to have Google Classroom as backup. Most of our teachers will post their homework sheets and whatnot on their Google Classroom page. So it's a really great resource. Now, parents have access to the parent portal. Student schedules will be posted in late August every year. Report cards are sent out through the parent portal 4 times a year, and progress reports between report card time are posted on the parent portal 4 times a year as well. And Mr. Hosier sends out weekly updates for us to the community, usually on Saturdays or Sundays. And that's a great resource to know what's going on in the school, what's coming up. And actually for faculty too, it's really great to receive the emails for information. Really at the high school, we would say that the main way of communication for teachers, faculty, and the PTSA is by email. So please always feel free if you have a question, if you want to receive some feedback. Email is really the best way to communicate with us. And when teachers are not teaching, when we're not in meetings with students and teachers, we will always email you back or pick up the phone and call you. So I started to talk a little bit about communication already. If you have a question about a subject, For example, you're wondering, why your child is not spending enough time on homework or really spending a lot of time on one subject, homework, any kind of question, please reach out to individual teachers if you have questions or concerns. And again, email is the best way to reach out to the teachers. Another great system that I talked about already is the team. The 7th grade team consists with multiple teachers, and we really meet daily to talk about 7th grade events, 7th grade students, 7th grade issues and some things that come up during the school year. Parents can contact the team leader to request a parent meeting. And it's a great way to meet with more than 1 or 2 teachers at the same time. And we always try to problem solve if we need to. So that's a great, I think, resource for parents to know about. Again, Google Classroom is a great way to check with your child to see what's going on in the classes. Later on, the school psychologist will talk to you about developmentally where they're at usually in 7th and 8th grade. But typically, we would see students not talking too much about their schoolwork or what's going on in their classes because they're getting older, they're teenagers. That's when it's great, for example, for parents to go on Google Classroom, see what kind of books, for example, they're reading in English. And you could ask them then, instead of saying, how was your day? And if your children are like my children, they would probably just say one word, fine, great. Okay. But then if you look at what they're reading, for example, you can say, oh, I see that you're on chapter 5. What do you think about the book? And gradually, I think you'll get a little more information from your children. Now I'm going to switch back to Ms. Moore.
All right. So next, we're going to talk about courses that 7th graders will take. We reviewed all this information when we met with your children back in March for our first visit. So next year, all students will take English, math, science, and social studies. As you know, we have 3 options for world language: French, Spanish, and Latin. So your child will take the one that they signed up for. Students will also take health and STEAM. These are semester classes. So some students will start the year taking health class, and the second half of the year, they'll switch to STEAM, or vice versa. They might start the year in STEAM and then have health for the second half of the year. Students will have PE, physical education, art, music 7, or if they signed up for band, chorus, and/or strings. And if recommended, your child might have resource room or ENL services. As some of you may know, our schedule is changing next year. We currently have a 9-period day, and next year we're moving to a drop 2 rotating schedule. So next year, school will begin at 8:25 a.m. and end at 3:07. There are 8 classes in total plus lunch. Students will have 6 periods per day plus lunch. The class time will rotate, which I'll show you on the next slide with a sample schedule. The periods are 55 minutes long, so longer than this year for those of you that are familiar with our current schedule. And they'll have a 5-minute passing period in between classes. We'll have an 8-day cycle next year instead of the 6-day cycle. So core classes will meet 6 out of the 8 days in the cycle. And then classes like art, music, and PE will meet 3 out of the 8 days in the cycle. Here's a sample schedule. Please note this is a schedule made with just one student's course request. Your child's schedule will vary based on their course requests and also will vary in nature. All students typically have a different schedule. It's very uncommon for 2 students to have an identical schedule. So your students next year will have different peers in various classes through the day. As you can see, students will eat lunch from 12:25 to 1:07. They will have their first 4 blocks in the morning, A through D, and then 2 in the afternoon, E and F. As you can see, the classes rotate. So if we use math as an example, on day 1, the first day of school, they would have math block A. The next day, they'd have math during period B. On day 3, period C. They wouldn't have math on day 5, because as I mentioned, 2 days in this cycle, that's when the classes are dropped. They'd have math again on day 5 during block A, day 6, block B, and day 7, block C, and again, a break on day 8. And as you can see, the classes I mentioned, like PE, study hall, which some of your students might have next year, depending on their other courses, music, art, those classes will meet 3 out of those 8 days in the cycle. Just a little note about study halls. If your child does have a study hall, that's a time when they'll have an assigned classroom where they can work on homework. They might study for a test or read. So it's kind of a quiet period to get some work done. If you have any more questions about the sample schedule, you're welcome to ask them this evening. In June, our administration will be hosting another meeting to talk specifically about the schedule once things are more finalized. So you'll be invited to join that meeting as well. I want to talk about activities, things that your children can do outside of the school day. So we have wonderful extracurricular clubs. We have a variety of club offerings. Some are available just for junior high students. Some are available for grades 7 through 12. We have a club guide that's updated and posted on the website each year. It's also something that Mr. Hosier will send home in those weekly updates that Ms. Matano spoke about. If you wanted to take a look now, if you went on our ehs.edgemont.org page, under activities, you'll see a link to the extracurriculars, and you can get a sense of some of the clubs that we offer. It does vary a bit from year to year, but if you wanted to get a general idea of things, you're certainly welcome to look at it now. In the fall, we also offer an activities fair. It's during lunch traditionally, and it's a time where students can go to booths and ask questions to the either facilitators or older students that help run the club and sign up for those clubs. We also offer athletics. We have modified level sports for grades 7 and 8. Practices are typically 5 days a week. It's important to note that practice begins at 4 p.m., which gives them time to go to extra help with teachers, which I'll talk about in a few slides. Again, our athletics website is great to get more information. It's also where you would register your child if they're interested in participating in a sport. That is also located under the activities tab on the EHS website. Junko and I really encourage students to get involved in at least one club or sport. It's a wonderful way to get to know students with similar interests, get to know their peers from the other elementary school and or new students, older students. And also a great way to start to feel connected to our school community here at EHS. Here's a list of the modified sports that are offered. So in the fall, there's cross country, field hockey, football, soccer, tennis, and volleyball. In the winter, we offer basketball, ice hockey, wrestling, and track. And in the spring, we offer baseball, softball, lacrosse, tennis, and track and field. Students are able to do one sport per season. If your student's not somebody who wants to participate in sports, that's why we have all the wonderful club activities. We also have a junior high musical every year, another great way to get involved. Or for students that would like to do a sport, they're welcome to do 1, 2, or up to 3 seasons of sports. Another thing that's available before and after school is extra help. All of our teachers have extra help 2 times per week, before and or after school. What's nice is they're set at the beginning of the year. So if you have maybe a subject that your child feels like, I think I should go every week, they could build it into their routine. So for instance, let's say they feel like they should go to English extra help every week and their teacher has an English extra help Wednesday after school. They might make that part of their routine. The nice thing is there's no appointments necessary. You don't need to stay the whole time. You're welcome to. It's really a drop-in, and extra help can be used for so many reasons. A student might go to ask a clarifying question about a topic, maybe a unit they weren't quite understanding in class. They can review and prepare for a test. They might also want to look at the test and review it with their teacher after. They can receive assistance on assignments. They might also go because they're just really interested in the topic and want to learn more about it and get some more resources. So we find students utilize extra help all the time, and we highly encourage it. Now I'm going to pass it to Michelle Greenwald, who's going to speak to you a little bit about the development as your children are getting older.
Thanks, Lauren. Hi, good evening. As Lauren said, I'm Michelle Greenwald, and I, along with Robin Younger and Mitch Shapiro, are the 3 school psychologists here at the junior senior high school. We'd like to speak with you tonight about changes you may see in your children over the next couple of years as they go through early adolescence, and what you as parents can do to help during this time of change. It's no doubt that the pandemic has had an impact on all of us, including our children, over the past couple of years, which has likely made some of these changes different. Some of these changes may be more apparent, some may even be exacerbated, and some may occur less, particularly regarding their social and emotional growth. The following are some statements we've heard from parents of 7th and 8th grade students over the years, which exemplify some of the typical changes that can occur. My daughter asked to stay at a new friend's house overnight. When I called, I heard lots of kids in the background. She said her friend's parents were home. I wasn't sure if I should ask to speak to them. My son flips off the computer screen whenever I walk by. He gets mad when I ask what he's up to. My friend called me and told me there was a group chat where my child's feelings got hurt. When I asked them about it, they said, "I'm fine. I don't want to talk about it." My daughter used to talk to me about school. Now she seems to always want to be on her phone or go on the computer. Early adolescence is a time of many changes. Change is exciting and new, but also can be challenging. In addition to the changes in school and the structure of their school environment that occurs when your child enters the junior high, and layered obviously with the complexities of the continuing effects of the pandemic, they will also experience several personal changes. These are physical changes of puberty, some beginning early, some later, which can make them feel different or uncomfortable, some of them. Emotional changes, such as an increased self-consciousness and varying moods. Cognitive changes, including an increased ability to reason and think and worry about what's happening in their lives, which is even more present right now. And social changes, which, as we all know, is probably the most salient aspect of early adolescence. These may include new friendships, disruptions in friendships, and an overall increased closeness to their peers, and a need to generally be one of the gang and fit in, which may result in them not always being so thoughtful in how they treat one another, which we have seen play out many times on social media, as you have probably heard yourselves. Although during junior high, your children become very involved with their friends, their activities, and their schoolwork, and may want to spend less time with you, this is the time that your children need you more than ever. A strong relationship with a parent is always the best protection as your child grows and explores, and can truly serve as a buffer against some of the negative experiences that can occur in early adolescence. Robin Younger is now going to speak with you about what you, as parents, can do to help during this time. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. Welcome, everyone. So what can you do to help? As Michelle mentioned, there are many continuing factors that are impacting your kids' social and school experience right now. How you treat these factors is an individual decision, yet there are certain guidelines that are universal and can be used at any time to help provide your kids with consistency and support as they grow. For one, it's important to listen and talk to your children and provide support as they struggle with problems that may seem unimportant to adults. For example, a friend not responding to a text message might feel very hurtful. Also, set limits. As parents, it's important to consistently provide structure and supervision that is firm and age appropriate. Limits at any age keep kids safe. This could include curfews, not being able to go to a friend's house unsupervised, coming home after school or sports, or limited screen time. And if your child doesn't listen, for example, comes home after curfew or doesn't follow screen limits, then make their actions have consequences and make the consequences meaningful to them. Teaching your children to become good problem solvers and helping them learn how to deal with setbacks and failure is critical. We all know that kids are capable of being resilient, and they need guidance to help them understand that although they can make mistakes, they can also overcome them and move forward to do things differently the next time. Guiding and encouraging them to problem solve situations that are more challenging will also help them to feel empowered and more self-reliant. Encourage your child to have balance. While focusing on schoolwork, they should also have fun with friends and family and not be overscheduled with activities. Encourage them to find interests that excite them. Try to have mealtime together as often as possible. Also, make sure they're sleeping enough and that they know that getting a good night's sleep is a top priority. Stay involved in your child's life. Get to know your child's friends. Get to know the parents of your child's friends. Monitor friendships to help your child avoid risky and unhealthy behavior. It's important to know who your child's friends are and what they're doing together. Don't be afraid to say no to your child if you're uncomfortable with where they are. Also, encourage them to question what they're doing and to look at what kinds of choices they're making when they are with certain friends. Encourage them to help their friends to make good choices, as this will help support their own decision-making skills. Monitor their use of cell phones and the computer, particularly text messages and social networking sites. We know how difficult this is. Know what they're doing and talk to them about their usage and potential consequences. This is especially important at this point in time, given that kids are on their devices more and more for both social and academic needs. Teach your child how to get out of a difficult peer situation. It's good to help children come up with ways to handle these situations before they occur so that they're prepared. Encourage kindness and empathy. Be alert to major problems such as depression and eating disorders, and don't hesitate to ask for help if needed. We are all here all the time. We know that middle school is very exciting, yet sometimes challenging in your child's life, and we're available to help and support you and your children in order to make this time a successful and positive experience. Dr. Shapiro will now speak with you about some of the supports we have at the junior and senior high school for your children.
Thanks, Robin. Hi, everyone. Despite what you're seeing, we don't have a problem with technology. Lauren and Junko do have their own computer screens, so you're good there. You can be rest assured that all the tech needs will be fine. For any of your students that have an IEP that receive special education services and might receive mandated counseling, myself, Dr. Greenwald, Ms. Younger, we will be available and assigned to work with one of them. We'll get to know those students. But in addition to that, we provide support to all of the students in the junior senior high school. One of the nice things about the way things are arranged is there's a counseling suite, and Lauren and Junko's offices and Robin and Michelle's offices are right next door to each other. Mine is in a different location, but as the students shuffle in and are getting their schedules, getting accustomed to being there, they're meeting their counselor, talking with them. There's a lot of communication that goes on. And if there are any students that need additional support, we often become involved with those students, meeting with them individually, meeting with them together with the counselor, connecting with you as parents, working with the kids in maybe small groups, just doing whatever is required. And it really is kind of based on what's happening in the school. We try to be really responsive to that. My office is actually in the A building. If you know the campus, which I'm sure if you have other kids, you do. It's a California campus and there are many buildings, 5 or 6 buildings. I'm in the A building. And just to highlight one program that I run so that kids know my face and know who I am, the 7th graders, is called the We De-Stress Friday program. I'm excited to do this again in the fall. Because of COVID, we haven't really been able to do this, have so many kids in the office, but I'm feeling like in the fall, we should be able to do that. It allows me to connect. It's really an opportunity for kids at lunchtime, maybe who don't want to spend all their time on a Friday, in the cafeteria on a Friday. They can come to my office, play the Wii. I have some couches. They can sit, talk to each other. I get to meet them. So it's really nice. And as Junko mentioned before, we're very involved with the 7th grade mentorship program, which we kind of gather our mentors together at the end of the current school year and at the beginning of the following school year. They're involved in an orientation with your kids, and ongoing communication is made possible by those students, so that there's always someone that can be supportive to them, not just adults, but also kids who have been through it already. There's other programs in the 8th grade. Every student curricularly will take part in a Teen Talk program with either Dr. Greenwald or Miss Younger. And that's really a program about stress management, but a whole range of issues that you heard them just talking about, to kind of manage hurdles that come up during junior high. And like I said, we're always in communication with each other. And we look forward to meeting you and meeting your kids. And I'll send it back to Lauren and Junko. I think are going to open it up for questions.
Great, thank you. So again, as a reminder, you are welcome to ask a question through the Google form and via the email that was sent earlier. I'm going to start reading the questions and we'll just kind of share answering them. So the first question is, besides the required coursework students will have, what are some optional activities or electives that children can sign up for during and after school hours? So in terms of during school hours, they'll have the course, their elective choices were what music choice they wanted to take and what language they're going to take. As they move into high school, there'll be more elective offerings every single year. And then as we spoke about, there's after school activities, which we encourage students to get involved in. The next question is, what are the various points of entry for honors classes? If our child is not in an honors class in 7th grade, are there opportunities to enter honors classes in later years? And then what is the trajectories for some of those classes in high school?
Sure. So we offer honors level classes in math during 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. And when they're older, starting from 10th grade, we offer honors level classes, higher level classes in other subjects such as English, social studies, and science, etc. So 7th and 8th and 9th grade, we believe that math is a subject where students already benefit from different speed classes and sizes of the class. So that's how we have it structured. At any point, every year, the teachers and every department will reassess every single student for the following year. So the students are never tracked in one area, and they have an opportunity every year to change levels. For example, sometimes students, if they do extremely well, and every department has their own criteria about changing levels, students can, for example, be recommended the following year for the honors level math class, for example. So each year, students have different opportunities.
The next question, will parents have an opportunity to tour the school? So we haven't typically had formal tours for parents. We, in years past, have a back to school night, and that's an opportunity for parents to come onto campus with their child's schedule, and they get to go to each one of their child's classes. So they're able to experience a day in their life as their child and get to move around the campus a little bit.
Lauren, can I just add that if we don't know if we're going to have back to school night on campus, we hope that that's the case. Last year, knowing that we did have an opportunity to set up tours where anyone who wanted to come could sign up for a spot. And I very much expect that if we didn't have back to school night on campus, we would do something similar to that again. So parents could see the campus, just get a sense of what our space looks like.
Great. The next question is, will students be required to bring in their own lock for their lockers?
Yes. So I can answer that question. We ask students to bring their own locks in. Every student will receive an academic locker in the D building usually, and students are responsible and they're allowed to use that locker to leave extra binders, whatnot, in their lockers. Students will also receive a physical education locker in the locker rooms in the gym. So yeah, students and the supply list will be coming out in the summertime. And on the supply list, it'll indicate that students need to bring their locks.
The next question was, how many students are in each class? We normally don't have more than 25 students per class. It might vary a little bit depending on the child's class, but that's our average. The next question is, what time do students start their day? As we mentioned, that's 8:25 to 3:07. Next question, can you talk about the reasons why the schedule is shifting to 55-minute classes? Will the lesson incorporate hands-on learning to keep kids engaged for that long?
Lauren, should I take that? Yeah, so I think the idea of looking at our schedule, that has been a process that started even before I began as principal here, and I'm in my 4th year. Before I started, there was a scheduling committee that met for 2 or 3 years and eventually moved from the 8-period day to the 9-period day. And there was never a thought that that would be the final schedule, but that was a step closer to what we wanted. The 40-minute classes and having 9 periods in a day very much feels like students and faculty and staff are racing through their day. And the type of work that students can do with 55 minutes, you can just go so much deeper in a topic, and the type of hands-on active learning that can happen with a 55-minute class versus 40 minutes, you just have so many more opportunities. The other thing is that when students transition from class to class, having 9 periods, there are so many more transitions. We know it takes about 7 minutes for students to be able to transition to the new class, so there's time that is lost there. And then when students get home, if you had 8 classes in the day or 7 classes in the day, now you have to manage all of those different homework expectations, where if you have 5 or 6 classes in the day, it becomes a little more manageable. So we think those are sort of the big reasons why this change will help. We also think in the long run, just not feeling like you're having to rush through your day in the same way, slowing down the pace a little bit so you can have more meaningful instruction in the classroom. That's really going to pay off for our students. Whenever there's a change, there's an increase in anxiety and there's a learning curve. So in the short term, change can be difficult until we figure out all of the details related to the schedule. And people have a sense of what it looks like after a week or two. It feels uneasy to start, but we're really excited about it.
Thank you. The next question might be for one of the 3 of you administrators as well. How does the flow of traffic work for pickup and drop off?
I'll start that, and then Ms. Johnson, Ms. Joseph, if you want to add anything. So traffic can be difficult, although I don't know that it's not problematic sometimes at Sealy and Greenville. So if class starts at 8:25, one thing you should know is that our library is typically open at 7:30. So if you want to avoid the traffic, you can come earlier, and I would recommend that. Right now, the main entrance that we have is obviously as you enter the campus. And the biggest thing is please listen to the people in the parking lot who are directing you. If you do what they say, they keep everyone safe, and it's very efficient movement of traffic. When you drop students off, please pull all the way around to the phys ed building. If you stop right in front of the school, it will take twice as long. So please pull all the way out, and students can only get into cars or out of cars from the sidewalk. Please don't use the middle lane. We'll send more information out about traffic, good things to know. At the end of the day, school ends at 3:07. We have extra help after school, and we have different activities. You don't necessarily need to come right at 3:07 when traffic is heavy. Our library is open till 4 o'clock. So you can have students wait until 4, 3:45, whatever works with your schedule. But I think if you can miss those times right at the start of school and the end of school, that will make a big difference. We also have some students who walk because they're close enough. Our artillery is another place where sometimes students will park or parents will pick up, depending on what works best for your family. But we'll send out more information about drop off and pick up.
Thank you. The next question is, are students who play sports required to take PE during the season? Great question. They are. They're required to take PE in 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. Beginning in 10th grade, there is an opportunity for students the season in which they're playing a sport to not go to PE class, but it would still remain on their schedule. And we'll explain that process when they're in high school. But 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, they will have PE regardless of if they're playing a sport or not. The next question is, what programming and coding classes are offered?
Do you want me to take it?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, go.
No, please.
Well, we have Intro Comp Sci, which are semester-long electives, and we have AP Comp Sci A and AP Comp Sci Principles.
And in 7th and 8th grade, the students have STEAM class where they are introduced to some coding and different STEAM activities.
I think they also enjoy robotics in 7th and 8th grade through the STEAM classes too.
The next question is, how do you facilitate the mentoring program, the 12th grade mentoring a 7th grader? Does somebody want to?
Sure. I mean, I guess we could all probably speak a little bit about it. So the facilitation, it's been different recently, I guess, but we We interview prospective mentors at the end of the year. We get their interest. We talk a little bit about do's and don'ts. We talk about developmental differences between being a high school student, being an incoming seventh grader, to make sure it's clear that the students know that their role is really guidance and to put themselves back in the shoes of being a seventh grader, things that they wanted to know from a student's perspective, but not to give them too much information so that it's not too much too quickly and it's appropriate. As for what we do, like I said, a lot happens in the beginning. That first meeting is pretty critical. They give them a tour. They do some get to know you. Usually each mentor is assigned between 5 and 8 or so students, depending on how much interest we have from the mentors in wanting to be one. That determines the number of students that are involved. And then throughout the year, we work with the seventh grade team. Ideally, there are activities that are planned to try to support the students. And if we can get those mentors out of class, usually we get a portion of them. They usually are involved in helping to facilitate some of those activities so that the kids get more hands-on experience with them. Other than that, it's about communication, and we ask them to reach out. They each make a Google Classroom with all of their students. They have discussions with them, and there's more interest from some and not much interest from others. You're going to see a lot of variation in terms of how comfortable kids are. And those that are not comfortable will probably use the mentors a lot more. We thought it was a good kind of safety net to put in place for them. I think that's pretty much it.
All right, great. So we have come to the end of our questions. If something comes up and you have a question that you might have tomorrow, which we know sometimes happens, feel free to reach out to any of us. You can find all of our emails on the directory or on the EHS website. We thank you for joining us tonight. We are so excited to welcome your children next year as seventh graders.